Well, hey everybody, my name is Joe Wyndham and excited to be with you for this small group training. This training is 3 sessions, and hopefully these 3 sessions are going to help you feel the most equipped and excited for your new small group that you're going to be hosting. You know, this training is going to help you whether you're leading a new small group in your home, in a conference room, in a special room at a coffee shop, maybe in a large room at your church, and you're at a round table with lots of other hosts in the room, and you're just maybe trying out hosting a small group for the first time. Whichever venue you're in, this training is going to be helpful. I've titled it Small Group Basic Training because we all need it taught in a basic way. Me being in the military for a long time, one of the things I love about it is you learn everything in a simple fashion of ABC, and why, when, where, what, who, how, all those types of things. And so that's what we're going to do with this training. Hopefully you have a guide there in front of you that you've either downloaded or you've been provided. And so there on page 3 is a table of contents. I don't know about you, but I love to know whenever I'm at a training where we're starting, where we're finishing, and what are the things we're going to cover in between. So if you'll check it out, session 1 there is all about, it's a quick snapshot. It's just going to show a snapshot of an assumed projection of your new small group and what that's going to look like. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about my first small group. Secondly, I cover this section called Starting Right. It's all about your first 2 weeks of your new small group and what those first couple of weeks are going to look like, just so as you're planning, you can get all those fears that you might have out of the way right away. And then thirdly, in that first session are the 10 steps to leading your small group weekly. I've broken down leading your small group weekly into some steps. Not all those steps do you do in sequential order, but there are 10 steps to kind of help you have a framework for how to best host your group. If you'll turn the page to page 4 there, it's a quick snapshot like I mentioned to you, and it covers the when, the where, the what, and the who. Okay? And just as we jump into that, let me just share a short story of one of the first small groups my wife and I led. We were rather fearful. We were new at a church, didn't know a lot of people, and we were challenged to lead a new small group. And so we started praying about launching that new group and who we would invite. And I was given some wisdom on the most important thing to think through is what night, when is best for us. And so we had to kind of think through our week. When were we busy? When were we not? And so we landed our night that we were most not interrupted, which was a Wednesday. We really wanted to lead a group in our home. So the where was our own personal home in our neighborhood. And then thirdly, what? What were we going to study? Well, we were looking forward to getting together with some other married couples to talk about marriage, all the ins and outs, and fun ornaments of marriage that decorate the tree of marriage, primarily being communication and parenting and finances and various things like that. And then lastly, the who. Who are we going to invite? So we just weren't sure. We wanted to pray and ask God, and hopefully He would begin to bump us into specific people, specific married couples that we would just know we were supposed to invite. So we kind of laid those things out. Over the next few weeks, we began to meet some different couples, and I would talk to my wife, and I would say, hey, I met this couple, and here's kind of where they're at in their life stage. And she would say, well, what do you think? And I'd say, I think we should invite them. She would do the same. So we ended up having 6 couples that we had listed, and we began inviting them all, and they were all really excited about coming. We had organized childcare through a couple of different teenagers that came together at one of the homes of the couples that we'd invited. The group was going to take an offering each week to pay for the babysitting, so we had all that worked out. So we decided to kick off our first night, and everybody was going to bring a specific dish, an actual appetizer or dessert, just so we could have a night of getting to know each other. And that first night we kicked off, I remember just having just a little bit of fear, just nervous, anxiety, and then the doorbell rang. And so couple after couple began to show and began to just come on in, and we just began to have a lively time together. and a lot of those fears we had just kind of melted away. So we had picked when, that was Wednesday night. The where was our home. A little bit later, when we were sitting down kind of around our dining room table, we talked about the what. We had also talked about the what when we were inviting them, what we were wanting to study about marriage. And then the who, we all introduced ourselves around the table. Some shared more, some didn't, which was fine. We knew over the next number of weeks, months, years maybe, we would all get to know each other better. So you see the when, what, where, and who there. I just shared my story, but that's pretty much the information that's listed there for you. And what I'd encourage you to do right now is just take a moment and pause the video in whatever venue you're in, and maybe on the back side of the sheet of page 3, just write those 4 things down. When would we want to have our group? What would we study? Where are we going to meet, and who are we going to maybe invite? So pause this video for a few moments and think through those, maybe individually if you're going to lead a men's group or a women's group or a singles group or a college group, whatever type of group you're going to lead, or if you're there as a married couple, you guys think through it together. All right? And we'll come back in just a minute and continue the training. All right. Hey, let's jump into the next section there, starting right, your first 2 weeks. Look there at your notes. For the new small group to get started in the most successful manner, there's a few things that can help you do this, okay? And so during those first couple of weeks, and I mentioned it when we started our first group, it's important to spend some time together so everyone gets to know each other, some interesting facts about each other. This allows group members just to get more comfortable with each other as everyone learns each other's names for sure, their sense of humor, their style of communication and things like that. All of those things are going to add and help. So when you begin your study, that people are going to already know each other, and it's going to make a more productive time during your study. Okay, check out the first 2 week sampler below, weeks 1 and 2. I have it laid out there for you. As a new host, it's really important to call and email all of those people, the who, that you've invited, just letting them know what they can bring to week 1, which is an appetizer or dessert, or week 2, some element of a dinner theme that you guys choose. And then secondly, just pray throughout the week, personally or as a couple, over all those that you've invited, that nothing would come in the way of them coming. And then thirdly, make sure early in that day of your new group kicking off, you have your home ready. You know, have everything clean and set up and good to go, so when people are showing up, you're not still scurrying around the house doing various things. Now, in weeks to come, there might be times where you got home late or things just went not well, and people are going to be gracious and fine and going to come in and help you do this and that, because it'll be cool, because your group will be becoming a family, and that'll be okay. And then fourth, be ready to just warmly greet folks at the door. Like I said, I was waiting on that doorbell to ring, and when it finally rang and I invited that first couple in, all those fears begin to melt away. Those first couple of weeks are really important. You know, a lot of times if you start groups on campus at your church in a large environment, a lot of times it's just really 1 week that you have some time to socialize and have a potluck or appetizers and desserts and things. And then week 2, you launch right into your study, which is fine. Just in that first week, still invite everyone to bring something. Bring everyone around a table, introduce yourself, share a little life bio about yourself, where you are from, where you grew up, where you went to school, maybe about your marriage, how long you've been married, how many kids you have, where you work, how you found your church, etc. Just share some things like that. One of the things I always like to do as the host, the leader of the group, is make sure everyone knows around the table that we're not going to go in any orderly fashion around the table so that no one feels put on the spot. You know what I mean? And so even when I start inviting folks to my group, like those first 6 couples, I was sure to say to them, hey, make sure you tell your husband, or make sure you tell your wife, that no one's going to get put on the spot. If you're shy, I'm not going to bounce around the room and say, so-and-so and so-and-so, you guys haven't shared yet. You know what I mean? So we want people to come and not have fears as they're getting ready to come to small group. So in the coming weeks, some who may not share those first couple weeks will slowly begin to open up and feel more comfortable and maybe share then. But that first night's just all about getting to know each other around the table, having a really good time. Toward the end of the night, talk about week 2. Talk about the study you're going to be doing, if it's a book study, if it's a Right Now Media study, if it's a DVD study, whatever type of study it is. Talk about if there's any type of prep for it. Talk about what next week's going to look like. Hey guys, we're going to all come back together. We're going to hang out kind of like this. We're going to have coffee. I'm going to gather us all into the family room. We're going to have a short word of prayer. If you have a handout, you provide that handout. If everybody has a guide, you can open those guides. If it's a Right Now Media video on screen, prep everybody for that, and then just enjoy it together. One of the most important things to know early in your group hosting is it's a group hosting, it's a group sharing, it's a group facilitating. It's not a group leader talking all the time. And a lot of times in our nervousness or in our fear, we'll do that. We'll talk too much. And so just be prepared to relax. Most all of our studies have great questions that you'll watch part of the video, pause the video, just like we did earlier in this video. You'll have a little bit of discussion. If it goes on for a bit, great. If everyone begins just to stare at each other. If you have a personal example, then share that as a host. But if not, just say, hey, all right, let's continue to watch, and then continue forward in the video. Cool? Well, that's just some helpful things there for you. You'll see there, if your group kicks off on its own in a home, and you do have a good, easy couple of weeks to just get to know each other, you might take an additional week, and that's that week 2 there, and have a dinner. Have everybody bring an element of a dinner that you've decided on. And week 2 would be maybe share your faith stories or your testimonies. Everybody share, or those who are comfortable, no one on the spot again, their journey to faith or where they're at on that journey. You might have neighbors or coworkers or someone there who's brand new to church or brand new to a small group. And it's just like, hey, I'm brand new to this. That'll be a welcome story. It's where they are on their journey. And it'll be good to have those folks there at your group. So anyway, each week of those first couple weeks, you can close with prayer. Good hosts who communicate well always follow up the group that night or morning with an email or a text string, whichever is the best mode of communication your group chooses, and just say, so good having everyone last night. Thank you to all of those of you who felt comfortable sharing. Third, don't forget such and such if there's any type of prep for the next week. If you've delegated items to anyone who's going to maybe bring some snacks or an appetizer or something, reminder of who that is, and then just always provide your contact information, your number, your information, so that if they need to get in touch with you, they can. Okay? And then I usually, the night before group, always send another quick little text. Hey, can't wait to see everybody tomorrow night. And let it just be as short as that. Cool? All right.